repurpose assets that don't generate income. One of the other interesting things you can do is simply to repurpose assets that don't generate income. This will help you spend less and maybe even generate a certain additional income that will come in handy. And now, before we do that, we should actually divide the assets into 4 groups. And for that, we're going to use the following framework. We're going to look at the value of the asset. Does it decrease with the time or not? And we would also look at the fact whether we use it or not. So here we've got not used assets, used assets, and here we've got assets that value does not increase with time, and here we would have assets that value increase with time. So thanks to that, we have 4 groups. So the first one is obviously useful and losing value. So those assets, you should not buy too much of them because they're obviously going to use value, and use them as much as possible, but also try to make this group as small as possible. You don't need to own things that are losing value. The second group is even more obvious, so you don't use them and they're losing value, so sell them. And if this is not possible, try at least to rent them to generate some additional cash. The third is the nice one. So this is something which increases in value and is not used, so we can obviously rent it and get some cash. We should keep it because, as we said, its value will increase with time. There's one situation where you can consider selling these assets. It's when you have to repay certain expensive debts. And the last but not least is obviously useful and valuable. So in this group, we've got things we use currently. They don't generate cash, but obviously they're useful, and we keep it because its value will increase in time. So in a sense, it is an investment. However, you should try to make this group as small as possible. So rather move some of the assets into this group so you can generate additional cash. So an example would be buying a big apartment versus buying 2 small apartments. So in short, try to keep things that increase in value. And again, when it comes to the things you use, try to use as little as possible. And if something is losing on value, try to not buy it or buy it as little as possible. Now let's go to some examples. So when it comes to useful and losing value, we would have car that we use to go to work, clothes we wear, and our smartphone that we use daily. When it comes to things that we don't use and are losing value, we have clothes that we hardly ever wear. So maybe a dress we bought for one night. We have second laptops and second iPhones. Second flat located at a town which population is decreasing, so its value is also decreasing. And another second car we hardly ever use, or maybe even the first car if we don't use it too often. In potential investments that generate cash today, we could have a second flat apartment located in the center, maybe summer house, books that are no longer printed, and jewelry. And the last group, useful and valuable, would be, for example, a first flat apartment that is located in the center where we live now. In the next lecture, I will show you the process, how you should approach those things, and then we will move on to a nice case study where I will have the opportunity to show you how to do those things in practice.